Hello everyone, Vulcan here, and today I'm going to be bringing you my review of episode 4 of RWBY Volume 4. Now, this episode deals a lot with the theme of family, as suggested by the title of the episode itself, and we see that in particular with the interactions between Yang and Tai, and later on between Raven and Qrow, which I'll get to in a bit. What I first want to talk about is Yang. The episode starts off not with her, but which I'll get to in a bit, but when we first see her, she's in a nightmare, and she sees herself with both of her arms, and later with Empress Silica as well, as Adam is approaching her, supposedly to attack her. During the nightmare, she's evidently remembering back to the events of the fall of Beacon, and as she attacks Adam, all her shots go through her, and that is a representation of how powerless she felt when she attacked Adam trying to defend Blake, which interestingly enough, she wasn't actually in the dream. I would have thought that she would be, considering that she was an integral part of everything that happened to her during the fall of Beacon. But putting that aside, after she tries to attack Adam, she returns back to being without the arm and without her weapons. And that basically goes to show... That basically drives the point of how powerless she felt, and you can see that in her expression as well when Adam closes in on her just before she cuts her in half. And by the way, thank you Rooster Teeth for not showing that to me, because after being afraid of seeing that in particular during Volume 3 right after Adam attacked her, I'm glad to see that Best Girl is still okay. So when she wakes up, she turns to look at her robot arm, which is lying beside her on the shelf. Now, that reminds me that someone from my previous episode's review said that the arm is a reminder for her of the fires of battle and the bad memories associated with them for her. Yang also later confirms that she's afraid of going back to that, and saying that the way she is now to her is normal, which also further suggests that she accepts the fact that she's a broken shell of who she used to be, what she used to be, with no hope of getting back. And this is further reinforced when Yang tells her father, Tai, that she lost a part of herself, and there's no hope of getting it back. And that also kind of leads me to think that this has more to do for her than just her arm. This is to do with her loss of Blake and the loss of Team RWBY and the loss of the life that she was living at Beacon Academy, and there's no way of getting that back. Credits to Tai once more for being the best dad of the century, because he goes and tells her that even though she's lost all of those things, even though that she's not who she used to be anymore, that shouldn't stop her from becoming who she wants to be in the future. He also says during the episode that normal is simply what you make of it, and this is a stark contrast. This really should be noted, because it's a contrast from what Yang is saying in terms of accepting herself for what she is now, a broken shell of who she used to be, and accepting that as normal, as opposed to what Tai is saying in that normal is what you make of it. Rather than accepting the facts for what they are, you can create a new scenario, you can create a new normal for yourself, and move on from that and move forward. So that's, again, coming back to the theme that Monty laid out for the whole series, the theme of moving forward. Yang's philosophy just then was of accepting everything as it is and not moving forward and just staying where you are. And Tai reminds her of everything that made Yang what she used to be. Someone who would not stop at anything, who would always move forward with an incredible stubbornness and incredible determination, which is something I really love about Yang. And it was really great to see Tai bring that back, as we saw at the very end of the episode, which I was just so happy to see, because Yang put on her robot arm, and everything that I was thinking about just before that scene just went straight to the toilet, because that's how awesome it was. So yeah, that was incredible. The interaction between Yang and Tai just shows how much love there is between the two, and just how great they are together. That being said, I do confess one thing in particular. When Tai was telling Yang that if she thinks she's ready to go out there in the world, and if she thinks herself mature enough to be an adult, then she's clearly lost a few brain cells along with her arm. And When he said that, I actually felt for it. I literally thought, why is he being as douchey as Jacques? But what happens right after that just confirms that it was all a joke, and apparently I still need to develop my sense of humor. So, no, it was great to see that. It was great to see that they do play off of each other really well. So, credits to Ty for being best dad of the century, seriously. And props to Bernie and Barbara for such an amazing voice work, because they really work well together as well. And one other thing of note as well, in terms of the scenes between Yang and Tai, is that it was really refreshing to see Oobleck and Port make an appearance in this volume, because it was very much needed. Port in particular also played a huge part in Yang's recovery, because to hear someone who's always boastful about his adventures, who's always boastful about his endeavors, his skills and abilities, say that he also has moments where he's afraid, I think that really went quite a long way to help Yang realize that there is a way to deal with it, there is a way to move forward. And it was also funny to see Oobleck mention that Port is afraid of mice, which is something I kind of share, because I really do hate mice. Seriously, I've had some bad experiences with them, but I won't get into that because that's not what I'm here for. So yeah, that's all I have to say with regards to Yang and her part of the episode. Right after that, we see Team Ranger walking toward Bigambana, which I think is how it's pronounced. What's interesting about this is that Jean appears to be a lot more cynical now, especially after the events of Shion, saying that, because he says, assuming that it's still standing. So it's, yeah, clearly Jean is growing more cynical, and I suppose that's part of a recurring theme that's starting to develop in this volume, as my boy Adele also mentioned, that there's going to be a theme of Jean losing things. Now, to me, that's a bit curious as well, because in the last episode, or episode 2 rather, because Jean wasn't in the last episode. In episode 2, Jean says that he's tired of losing things. Now, I do get where he's coming from, but I found it really interesting that he'd say that, because in that episode, he hasn't actually lost anything. I mean, Shion had very little to do with him, other than the fact that he and his family always used to do camping trips over there. I get where he's coming from as well, though, because he's lost a lot of very important things, particularly Pyrrha. I suppose everyone has lost very important things after the fall of Beacon. But one thing he also says, which kind of counters his previous negativity, is that he says things could have been a lot worse, and to which Nora responds that they're lucky that they haven't fought that many Grimm on their way there. And what follows right after that is confirmation of everyone's thoughts regarding this, wherein Qrow was effectively killing off all the Grimm that would have attacked Team Ranger. And evidently, as the opening also suggested, Qrow has been watching over them quite constantly for whatever reason. I suppose he wants to keep him safe. I mean, it is his niece, after all, that we're talking about, Ruby. Not by blood, but you get what I mean. So we're in Bigambana now, and he's still watching over them, but from another building. At which point he receives a drink from Super Hot Chickness. Man, this girl. Man, I swear, it doesn't show my live reaction, which you get to see later in the week, but man, this girl, the more I see of her, the more I like her. I mean, she's just so fucking attractive, seriously. Anyways, that being actually about that, this picture here, this shot here of Qrow, this is going to be my reaction pic to anything regarding hotness in the coming months and years, because that face just says it all. It also reminded me of when he told Yang and RWBY that he'd been defeated by the sight of the barmaid's skirt. So yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome to see. So right after that, we see Raven for the first time ever in the series, unless you count that little sequence between Raven and Yang, which still doesn't make any sense. So we're not going to count that. This is Raven's first actual appearance in the series. Besides the time when she saved Yang. Okay, fine. It's the second time we get to see Raven. I get it. So the interaction between Raven and Qrow, as I said previously, is a complete contrast from Yang and Tai, because you can clearly tell there's animosity and even hostility between the two. One thing that's interesting, one thing that we do find out rather about Raven is that she is not just part of a bandit group, but the leader of the bandit group. And the conversation also really strongly suggests that Raven is the leader of the bandits that attack Xion, because when Qrow mentions that Xion also saw the fruits of her philosophy, which is the weak die and the strong live. There's something I gotta say about that, but I'll get to that in a bit. When Qrow mentions Xion and that Raven has someone really strong on their side, Raven goes and says that she couldn't have expected the Grimm to come as fast as they did. So that strongly suggests that she is effectively part of the bandit group that attacked Xion, and therefore part of the bandit group, rather the leader of the bandit group that has something to do with Ren and Nora. So that reminds me as well of the Lettergate that happened several months ago, which mentioned that Team Juniper would have eventually been attacked by Raven. Everyone thought, including myself actually, that why would Raven attack Team Juniper? I mean, they're not important. They're just students of Beacon Academy, with Ren and Nora being orphans. So it doesn't make any particular sense. Now, I thought that within the context of that particular time, it wouldn't have made sense. But this episode gives strong evidence as to what kind of relationship there is between Ren, Nora, and Raven, and also further lends credence to what the Lettergate said about Raven attacking Team Juniper, which would now be Team Ranger, I suppose. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens later on in the series, perhaps even in this volume, because bear in mind that Ren and Nora are right now in the same place as Raven. So if they do see each other, that'll be very interesting. Though perhaps not, because Raven also did do that teleporting thing, whatever that is. Going back to the theme of family, Raven's view of what family is, as Qrow said, is extremely skewed. Because for one thing, she doesn't seem to care she doesn't seem to give one shit about Yang having lost her arm, and she's very prideful of the family that she's with now, that family being the bandits. Which is also contrast with the first thing that she said, can't a girl catch up with her family, when she talks to Qrow. Qrow being her brother, of course. But again, it's not even a reference to Yang. Really, really weird. The one thing that I kept telling myself when I was watching the episode was, how could someone like Tai end up with Raven? I mean, they are completely different. It's like water and oil, with Raven being the oil. I mean, I don't know. I really have no idea. I mean, the two just don't seem like the type of people who would go along with each other. I mean, I would like to go into like a more mature discussion, but I don't want to, because I get that some people who might chance upon this video would be of a less mature audience. But oh my god, the only thing that I'm thankful for in terms of Raven and Tai having gotten together is that the result was best girl. That's all there is to it. In terms of the Raven's character as well, one thing I was happy about was that while she does look very similar to Yang, she's not anymore the palette swap that we had in that inexistent sequence. Yeah, Raven is one hell of a character. She really is. So yeah, that is my thoughts on this episode. Oh, by the way, before I finish, Yang was not, like I mentioned before, Yang was not the first person to appear in this episode. It was actually Compost King. That sequence was really, really weird, because what happens at the end of it was that when Compost King is looking at the mirror in interest, as if he saw something in it, almost right away, we hear Ozpin introducing himself to the boy. And I guess that's my theory going out the window about Ozpin being stuck somewhere in the crack of time. I guess it could still be possible, and that that mirror there is some way for Ozpin to interact with the actual world. I guess there's some interstellar shit going on in there where Ozpin's spirit has traveled through time as if in a black hole, and now he's found his way. He's found his window into the real world, and the person he chanced upon is that boy. I would like to think as well that there is more importance to that boy than just him coincidentally being the first person that Ozpin encountered. So hopefully we get to know more about that as well. I don't think, as some people are saying that Compost King is being possessed by Ozpin, but I don't think so. I think Ozpin is doing some mirror on the wall kind of thing there. And one thing as well that I noticed that's a bit interesting. This has nothing to do with Ozpin, by the way. But what is that red shit in the sink? It looks like blood, honestly. But whatever. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the episode. Really, really liked it. I really liked the contrast between Yang and Tai and Raven and Qrow. And hopefully we get to know more about Raven's story and what relationship she has with Ren and Nora. Also, training montage. I want to see a training montage of Yang training with Tai, which also brings up a good point actually, because one thing I did say in the previous episode was that I really look forward to seeing Tai fighting. I guess my hopes are going to be fulfilled in several episodes. I think because next episode I guess we're going back to Ranger, and because that's gonna focus on RWBY, and I suppose Jean is an extension. Then we're gonna go back to seeing Weiss, then Blake. So I guess 4 episodes later we're going to see Yang training with Tai, or maybe 3 episodes from now. I guess we'll see. So really, really excited about it. Really looking forward to it. So like the video if you did. Comment down below what your thoughts are, and whether or not you agree with some of the things I said here. And subscribe to my channel for more, and I will see you soon.